Hi guys, welcome back to Indie Housing Market. I'm Shelly Walters with the Shelly Walters Realtor Group and FC Tucker.
I'm Kyle Morris with Morris Property Group and FC Tucker. I've been out for a week or two, so
You've been busy boy.
I have been.
The market's doing okay, right?
It's doing really good.
People are complaining and saying all kinds of things about what's going on around us, but it is business as usual for me. You know, I just say it's business as usual.
It's spring season
Right.
as usual, I guess. You know, yeah,
And the stats are showing that for sure.
100%. We're drinking from a fire hose right now, but inventory is healthier, right? But, you know, some of the things we want to talk about, you know, it's tough again. It's tough to be a buyer. You have to be prepared as a seller. You got to have your timelines correct so that you put your best foot forward, right? Or it's going to impact you 100%.
It's hard to tell. I was talking to my sellers yesterday. I have one going on the market tomorrow in Westfield. And I'm not to the point where I can specifically, positively say to them, here's what's going to happen. We're going to do this, and this is what's going to happen. And by Monday, this is where we're going to be. I'm not there yet, but you just have to go one day at a time still. And I'm just kind of waiting to see, are we going to settle into a norm? Because right now it just seems like it is helter-skelter, depending on the house, depending on the location, depending on the price point. There is no norm yet or
It's tough.
average.
Right. So, you either sell right away or like with the stats, you're basically selling over the weekend or you're selling in 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks, whatever. But some houses, I took a picture of one and I was like, yeah, hey, this is a cool house, blah, 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 just super basic stuff. I had agents coming out of the woodwork oh, can we come see this? I can't let you in before we're on the market. There's rules to this for the record. But I don't know. It's just all over the place to your point. You're like, a seller's going to be like, what's it going to be like? It's either going to be a nightmare this weekend or we've got 2 weeks and you'll be okay.
And that's the conversation I had because...
And it doesn't matter the presentation of the house either, don't you think? So some of them that I put on that I thought might not perform as well, performed insanely well. And some of them that I thought would be just gone in a heartbeat took 7 or 8 days instead of 2 days, right?
Right.
It's just...
7 or 8. Well,
yeah, fair. Okay, yeah, that's still really
well. So
quick,
I showed a house yesterday. It was on the market for 11 days, and that stigma I think is back because the buyers are like, "Well, I wonder why it's not sold yet." And I'm like, "It's only been 11 days," but
which is so fast.
But that stigma is still out there. Well, Carmel is showing me that we're averaging 4.
Yeah.
Westfield is averaging 10, and the medians, I should say, the averages are a little higher, but the medians are, and then for Zionsville, it's median is 4. So we're way down on those. The days are coming way back, and same for 30 days on market. So we sped way up compared to what we were talking about 6 to 8 weeks ago. We've been through spring break, so here we go.
But you were saying before we kind of start literally right before we started this thing. Although we were recording before that, so God forbid anybody ever sees the stuff that we talk about before we get on here. There'll be a whole outtake reel on that. But what'd you say about greed?
Well, yesterday I was talking to somebody, and I don't even remember, and then you brought it up. So greed keeps coming into sneaking into the conversation, but greed costs you money.
It does.
And there is just some sellers that just think that, I'm going to stick it out for $10,000 to $15,000 to $20,000, and they lose 40. Those are the ones that have been on the market for a little bit longer, or, just... In same in inspections. I mean, I had an issue where I told them, I said, if you do not fix this item, it's $2,000 to fix this item. They were standing on principle. It's not necessary. It's not needed. We're not going to do it. And I said, the Fathom, I can't explain to you other than my experience for the past 15, 16 years is that you're going to lose a ton of money. You're fighting over $2,000 right now on that inspection item. If we go back on the market, everybody's going to want to know what happened. You've lost the momentum that you could have sold like you did. These people specifically sold that first weekend, got full list price, and started fighting over $2,000 because they just wanted to. And I said, if you do this, you're typically going to probably lose $15,000 to $20,000 in the price point that we were in, because you're going to go back on the market, sit here for 2 to 3 weeks because it's not the first day anymore, and nobody's going to pay you full list. And guess what? They're probably going to ask for exactly what they wouldn't fix. The next buyer's going to ask for as well. And they did. They lost $20,000, and it was over $2,000. And
over principle. And it's hard because where you sit on it, Like, I want to represent my clients. I want to do what you want to do, but like, what are we trying to do here? You
Right.
know, like we have one similar.
Well, carrying costs too. Just add that.
Oh
That
yeah,
was just
just a
purchase
mortgage.
price.
Just a mortgage
Yeah, and
covers that.
utilities and all that stuff, and they were already out of the house. I mean, it was just, but I don't want to sit and feel like I'm telling people what you have to do and you better do this, and I know what I'm talking about, but I kind of do.
Yeah.
Like I've been through it a few times.
Well, people think that once you're in this deal, you're almost like holding the other side hostage,
Yeah.
not realizing people can walk,
Yeah.
and like if they walk, you better have a really good backup plan or be prepared to deal with the consequences, which is fine if we do that. And I have had it work out plenty of times, but we have one, it sold in a heartbeat, over list, appraisal gap coverage, and then it appraised, this great situation. And we're arguing about $1,000 right now on an inspection. And I'm just like, we got $15,000 over list. We need to keep
Right,
this in
and
mind.
that too.
Right, but it appraised, and like, if we resell it, it appraised, we'll be okay. Well, just because it appraised there doesn't mean I get to resell it there, because to your point, people are going to say, what's wrong with it? Why'd this fall apart? And I don't
And
care
everybody
what
automatically
agents
assumes
say.
it was an inspection. Like, what happened with the inspection?
Agents will put on there, due to no fault of the sellers. That's great. Every buyer is like, oh yeah, well, it really happened here. Like there's asbestos through the whole thing, or mold, or whatever. Like, just because I know and I can educate a buyer and tell them doesn't mean, when I walk away from the buyer, that the buyer doesn't have, second guesses or whatever it may be, or like, I wonder what's really going on here, or anything like that.
But
And
getting
it will hurt you.
15,000 over list
Oh my gosh.
that first weekend does not happen again.
Yep.
I don't know.
doesn't.
I mean, I don't, I have listings and I sell listings and I have buyers and I have experience of what has happened in the past. But I really don't know how many houses still sell that much over list after one has fallen through.
So I had it happen 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. I can't remember. It was during COVID, I believe. And it fell apart. He's actually a Tucker agent. He's an amazing agent. He's a really good agent. I respect the crap out of him. And
Didn't say his name.
it was Kyle Peckinpah, actually, is who it was. And
Kyle.
yeah. And so the deal fell apart, or I don't remember what happened exactly, but there was a price reduction, right, because it set. And then, it had been on the market for a little while because of similar situation or whatever it may be. And then us and another party came in and became interested in it. And so it became competitive at the reduced rate. And we ended up paying over the original list price. After the price reduction, it went back up over the original that it had been dropped from, and got it. But that is literally the only time out of any of the houses, and that's a crap ton of houses, right, that I've ever experienced something like that, where you just get caught. It's not normal. It's not normal.
But I did have the conversation yesterday with my buyers as we were looking at a house last night, and it was on the market for 11 days, and they immediately were like, "Oh, what's wrong with it?" But then they're like, "Well, we'd like to make an offer, and now we can probably go in lower and all this stuff." And I said, just because it's been on the market for 11 days or 20 days or 30 days does not mean it's not going to go competitive.
Yep.
Because we have to explain that there can be buyers that are out there sitting and waiting and watching. And you know what I do? I call you and I say, let me know if you start to get interest or if you start to get an offer, because they're still trying to sell their house or whatever. There's always circumstances of why they didn't jump right away.
That's your worst nightmare, when you get the phone call where somebody's like, "Oh, hey, we're getting an offer on this," and you're like, "Oh crap, now we got to come in."
But then all of a sudden,
when you could have just wrote an offer the week
same
before.
Thing. Right. So 2, 3, 4 other people like, "Oh, well, now we all have to do it." And buyers don't understand, well, why is it all competitive now? Like,
you know what else they say? They're lying.
Right.
They didn't really get
That's
other
what I mean.
offers.
Why?
I'm like, there's not an agent out there that's got, like, maybe there is, but I can't think of any that I know of that would just make up that there's other offers out there.
Yeah. Well, I've actually seen that happen in the beginning to try to spur it up in 2021, 2022. Yeah. I've caught a few.
Really? Mm-hmm. Look at you, just out there.
I was just like, in this situation, it doesn't make sense that you're saying that. And I actually pushed one to show me the offer. And they're like, "I don't have to show it to you." And I'm like, "Just show me it all redacted." And they wouldn't do it. And I'm just like, I don't know. And we got it.
Yeah.
And I didn't even go in at list because I was like,
Didn't
whatever.
trusted your gut.
It just was weird, yeah. But
Yeah, but
that's not normal. I
Yeah,
don't
but there was
think.
something that gave you that feeling,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's not normal either. Like you can tell just from experience when something's a little bit off about it. So, I don't know though. The market's getting healthy. I will say I don't know if this is society, and I think you and I were kind of talking about this. People are kind of fighty right now. Um, I just don't know why. And, I've done really good at like not meeting other people's energy and stuff like that. But, there's days where I'm not my best or you're not your best. And it can be a little bit draining, quite honestly. There's just a lot of moving parts in the spring market. There's a lot of volume that's going on. And, everybody, I kind of feel like this needs to do a little bit better.
I think there's a lot of stress because of the stuff going on with NAR and everything else. I
Yeah.
think people are concerned about that. Again, I keep saying it's business as usual. I don't see
I
anything
haven't seen a
affecting
change.
me at all. But I think there's just a lot of stress out there for the agents. I think there's a lot of stress for buyers because of the interest rates being unknown, especially in this price point, 200, 100, 150 to 250, 300 even. Again, a buyer I'm working with right now, FHA, starting to people not accepting FHA offers again. I don't get it, but we have not. Our first offer out was at FHA, and they told us we didn't get it because it was an FHA offer, and they were putting down 10%.
10% on an FHA?
Yeah.
That's a good offer.
The mentality of what's wrong with an FHA offer, I don't understand. Because
I don't know if we can ever. I can educate one-on-one to buyers and sellers when I interact with them, but that's not even industry-wide. I feel like everybody thinks there's something wrong with FHA or VA, which it was created to benefit people, and now all of a sudden it's like stigmatized, which is just asinine to me because it's a lack of education, quite honestly.
Yeah, but it's just all these pieces and parts that are just causing a lot of, I don't know, pent up concerns of how the market's going to be. Sellers are coming into the market right now. It seems Carmel did really good. We had 52 hit the market last week, which was higher than normal. But again, it is almost May. So we should probably be seeing that. We had a positive of 20 because we only pinned at 30. So that was really good to see. That's the first time.
That's a lot.
That's the first time in a year or more. I don't know because we consistently talk about negative inventory. But inventory coming up. But we didn't, like you were saying earlier, we didn't break it down price point by price point.
We need to do that next week.
Just to really see like what do we have. Because it is so difficult right now for the first-time home buyers or anybody under sub 300. A very difficult market, and when those houses hit the market and they're a really, really good house, I don't even. It's a little prayer, it's a little luck, it's a little whether you get it or not. I mean, but I have had offers that have sent to me that they're missing blanks filled in. They've just the contract is not written correctly. And so there's one thing I can win, hopefully, because I kind of really sticky about my contracts.
That price point, too, is interesting with the highest and best situation because I've seen that bite sellers in the butt here. I feel like in the past 3 weeks where, it's 225, blah, blah, blah. People are asking for highest and best. And I feel like most buyers are, even if the buyer isn't, the agent is educated based off of the past couple of years of like, if you're FHA or, it's a little bit lower price point and financing can be a little bit tighter, like you just got to put your best foot forward to kind of avoid, an ultra competitive situation. And I've seen highest and best, and I've seen it not benefit the seller, right? Where all of a sudden you have buyers want to walk away because it's too, they're like,
don't want to compete.
We don't want to compete, whatever it may be. And it may be only like I don't want to be, I don't even know what word I want to use for this, but like I'd hate to see like something is like $5,000 over list currently, and you call for highest and best, and you had somebody who was going to write 7 over list, and you don't get that because they think it's 10 or 12 over list, right? And it's a detriment.
You just expect that.
You do.
And what do you feel about telling them buyers where we are? Because it does state in the purchase or the listing contract if we can or can't say we have offers and what they are.
This is my favorite. I love this. I want to know what you feel, and then I'll tell you what I feel. Because I know what I deal with, like with a bunch of agents, but I have a strong feeling on this one.
My feeling my thing is I tell my sellers, we definitely want to tell them we have multiple offers. We have to do that. And why can't I say what our price is, where we are? Two things. One is, if I have a buyer myself, I want to know, if I call you and I say, where are you? The house is listed at 250. My people can only do 265. Is that going to get it? And you go, can't tell you. Like, I don't really want to write the offer if I need to be at 285. I don't want to put my buyers through that.
But what if you could have got it at 265 and you walked because their highest currently was 257?
That's what I'm saying. Tell me I can do 265 so I can write it. But if you tell me, no, Shelly, we have a cash offer at 285, you're not going to get it. I don't want to put my buyers through that.
Yep. So the listing contract has 2 boxes for this. So it says, can I or can I not tell somebody that there are other offers, right? And then there's another section right under that that says, okay, so if I can I or can I not give details of those offers? And for me, I always put that I'm allowed to, right?
Me too.
And trust my
And
discretion.
explain why.
Correct. And then I have that conversation with my sellers every time I'm going to do it, right? Of what we're trying to accomplish.
Have you ever had a seller say, no, don't do that?
Not once. But the argument I hear, I love this topic because I'm very steadfast on this for the same reasons, right? Because we do write a lot of offers and I have to deal with the emotions of disappointed buyers. I hate to see people leave the market and get disappointed because they think they can't get something when we probably could have if I would have had better communication.
If you just know right up front. I'm just going to tell you right now, we can't beat the cash offer at 285.
Yeah, but let's keep looking. Let's go find. It's just not the house for us, right? The argument behind it is, and I think it's a valid argument, just for me and the way I run my business and my trust in my abilities, not to sound arrogant, but like I've just done this for a while, and do a lot of it, same as you, is, am I protecting my seller's fiduciary responsibility? What if you were going to write me an offer for 265 on that, and I told you, I've got an offer at 257. So the argument is like I prevented, them from maybe getting more, okay, because they were going to write above what they've been told they were going to get. The other argument that is conveniently left out of that is I could make them less also.
Because I come in at 258?
Right, or because you didn't write the 265 because you thought it was not going to be a winning offer. And so on the side of like, which would I rather do? Is it that like, I want my sellers to make as much as they can, right? I want my buyers to get the best deal. I would rather somebody make as much as they can versus potentially lose. And that's just kind of how I look at it, because I'm potentially losing offers of, it may be 3, 5, 10, whatever it may be, but like the other side of the argument implies that somebody's just going to write some crazy offer that outkicks the coverage on everything. And I just think agents are educated enough for the most part of where they need to be ballpark based on interest in a property.
But this is where the escalation clause comes into play.
Oh yeah, we use that. Don't you hate when agents say they don't?
We won't accept it.
Yeah.
Do you not understand it?
They're super easy.
Right. But I'm saying is why? Because you don't understand it? I don't understand. But that's where I talk about. So if we're going to use the same number, if they can go to 265, I'm not writing 265. You just said, maybe you didn't tell me your highest is 257. I'm never going to throw out 265. If it's listed at 240, let's just say I'm going to try and use numbers. I'll go at like 245 just to, be a little bit higher. And then I'll say, well, escalate to 265. Yep. But I am not going to throw 265 at a 240
out of the gate.
And the buyer had to pay $25,000 more when they really maybe only had to pay $12,000 more.
Yeah.
But I had this happen to me. I literally had somebody who wrote an offer for $75,000, $80,000, something to that effect. I don't want to say the exact number, over the list price. But the next highest was $25,000 less. If they had escalated, their buyer would have saved like $25,000, but they wrote it for that amount. And so that's a whole nother thing too. People say why they don't want to use an escalation clause, why they don't accept them as a solicitor agent. I don't understand that.
I don't either.
But why people throw their huge number right out in the purchase agreement, I don't understand.
Well, I don't see it that often. So like for like the argument of just like, do I tell or do I not tell? Like the way you and I do it is based off of real-time application of what I see day in, day out, right? The other side of the argument is based off of this one-off random scenario that might happen once in a blue moon to help one client maybe make like $5,000 to $10,000 extra, when I'd rather make all of my clients, a little bit more, right? Like, and so like where I'm building a whole business model off of something that's like insanely rare that it would happen in the first place versus, what we deal with day in and day out. But the escalation clause, the argument to that, just like, I don't know what you hear, but because I push people on this stuff, like once I'm out of a transaction or people who have an opinion, I'm like, so why don't you want an escalation clause? And they'll be like, well, I'll just counter you back. And if you said 265, I'll just counter you and say like, well, you say you'd pay 265, so hit me at 265. Like that leaves out the obvious situation of where I get to just say no.
Right. That's
like
that's
I don't have to
it's not
do
how
that.
the game is played.
Yeah.
And that was actually said in the very, very beginning, because when escalation clauses came out in the very beginning, that's how everybody played the game. They're like, oh, you just told me 265? We want your 265.
Yeah.
I'm like, show me the purchase agreement, because the paragraph above there says,
Yep.
we'll pay whatever, $1,000 more net to seller. The contract puts me at $1,000 over your next highest offer.
Show me the contract.
Show me where you forced me to 265. And they're like, it doesn't matter. You said 265. I said, yeah. Per
Based on this.
$1,000 net to seller. And then in the very beginning, we don't have to show you the purchase agreement. You don't need all that information. Yeah, you do. And then the other scary part of that is, too, whether or not you counter, because you have to counter to get that number right.
Correct.
I don't like that part of it. I wish there was a way that the escalation clause finalized it, because it is very scary to counter that back. You've got 10 offers on the table, and you send your counter back of like, here's where you escalated. And the buyer just goes, no, I'm not going to sign it. Like, I don't know, and that's a question for Angel or somebody, what the legalities is, because once you counter, that's a counter. So
ball's no longer in your court.
Yeah, and so I think the escalation clause needs to have something, and that's a whole thing with forms. But that part bothers me. I actually write in my further conditions, if I have an escalation clause, that the buyer does agree to sign the counter number 1 at the escalated price per the escalation rules or whatever. I don't know exactly what I write. Just to say we will sign it, because that's a huge opening to counter that escalation.
It is. It leaves you open. But that comes down to communication with the other agent and everything, and some trust there. But it definitely does.
It's just a little nuance there that seems kind of odd for the escalation clause.
But it's all like, I like escalation clauses. It's
it saves your buyer money.
It does. You can get into like, oh, I think somebody's going to escalate at 2,000, so we're going to do 2,500. And I'm like, no, but somebody's going to think of that, so I'm going to do 2,750.
Yeah, 2764. Yeah. What's your?
It's like chess. I got to think like two steps ahead of everybody.
My psychology degree always throws out like, psychologically, what is this going to do? But before we had to go over lists and all that different stuff.
The good old days.
When we would counter back and forth, 6 times or whatever, and when you're like, oh my God, how are we going to finish this? My 4th or 5th counter, I would ask them, okay, what's your birth date? What's your wedding date? What's this? So if they were like, if their wedding date was 11/7, then it would be, 400,000. 11/7, or their date would go in there, because it would make, and I've had agents go, what was that number? Because it makes the seller go, they ran numbers. They actually went home, had to put a calculator to it.
Like you're at a car lot.
I know. Well, I was married to a car person.
Because the best is people are like, if it says 999, like, no,
that's a made up number.
Yeah, people know it's still $1,000 for the record. But
right. Well, we do that in houses too. When you're listed at 5,999,999, you're like, okay.
Just put it at 600, people. Just put it at 600. Right. Well, Andy, you lose out on a search if you do that, because anybody who starts a search at 600, you just missed them. So,
that's the whole thing about pricing and bridge pricing, but the psychological being in the 600s. But the other part of that is, we're just going on another tangent. But the other thing is, if you hit 600, anybody who's searching is usually 600 to 650 or something like that. If they can afford a 650, they're not buying the 600.
They're not.
Getting into that 600 at 600 is not going to help you. So psychologically, having that 5 in front of it is probably a little more helpful. But yeah, that whole thing is, today's world, it doesn't matter, because they're going to escalate anyway.
They are. I'm curious to see what next month looks like. Basically the market is playing out exactly like we said it would. The only thing that's been a little bit different is interest rates, because
Yeah.
Interest rates are supposed to go down in May, is what they said at the beginning of the year, right? But interest rates went down a little bit, then they went back up, then they went back up again, then down, then back up. It's like 2 steps forwards, 1 step back. So I'm curious to see what happens in May. But I mean, interest rates are a whole thing. New construction is really good right now. I saw quite a few good deals with bought down interest rates that were bought in a pool for builders, but a lot of that has kind of gone by the
I was gonna say,
wayside.
I haven't
Starting,
seen any. Are there any out there right now?
yeah,
in
the
builders?
last ones I saw were you had to close in May, and that because we just did some, and it was Lennar had it. Lennar had like a 4.9 or something like that, 4.75, but it had to be done by May, and so June was starting. At least at the time when I looked back in March, June was 3% of purchase price towards closing costs. And I think D.R. Horton was the same thing as well. They had some neighborhoods that were still doing interest rates, but at the same time, like it had to be closed, like I think by the end of April at that time frame. So a lot of them are getting away from interest rates and they're getting back towards like 3% towards of the
Concessions
purchase
for the
price towards
buyers,
closing
yeah.
costs. Yeah. So
Well, and the other thing too is, again, getting ready to do the listing tomorrow. The conversations I've had for the past couple of weeks, like you say, we take 3, 4, 5 weeks to prepare to get to the listing section where we're actually putting it on the market. So the conversation was, we are at the point where people need to be in the houses for school.
yeah.
So if you're hitting the market right now, we're just now getting to the point where the next 3 to 4 weeks is almost going to be at the end of May. You can't get a family in before school starts. So it's so weird how we go through the winter and then we finally get to where it's nice. We get past spring break and then it's, now it's almost time because school's going to start. We only have this one window where it's the most advantageous to be on the market.
And where I'm at in Mount Vernon school systems, like I don't even know when we go back to school this year. I haven't. It's past my scope of looking right now. But like we went to school this past year, last week of July.
Yeah, that's crazy. What are you on is that the?
Yeah, I don't know what
balance,
they call it. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
We get 2 weeks fall, 2 weeks Christmas, 2 weeks spring break, and then I don't know what they call it. There's a term for it. I call it a pain in the butt. But I just remember summers as a kid, and I loved them. So I don't know.
Yeah, like 8 weeks.
Yeah, it was awesome. Anyways, back to houses. I apologize. So for me, I don't know. I think the inventory is looking good.
Now next week,
There's
let's look into the price point.
opportunities and options, and there's really good houses out there. The bad news is it's competitive. So in Fishers, I had 53 going to market anywhere from 250 to 2.9. So like I've got stuff that's 250 sub threes, good price range, all the way up to 3 million basically. 31 of them are still active, 22 pended, but 43 total pended. So like it's picking up some of the more stale inventory because I have average days on market is 18, right? So we're probably looking at, either selling the first weekend or it takes about 3 weeks because the median is 5 days.
Well, you said 43 pended last week.
43
That's
total.
Huge.
And I have 143 on the market, which is massive compared to what we have been. So, and then Noblesville had 38 go on the market from 224 to 875. When I was looking at the numbers, I'm glad you brought up the price points. I saw quite a few in the twos in Noblesville, which made me really happy. 22 are still active, 16 pended, 30 total pended, with 94 on the market. So Noblesville's inventory is still actually pretty low. It's not performing as well, picking up inventory like Fishers and Carmel and Westfield are. 19 days on market is the average, 5 median. So it's still selling at the same rate. I don't know why we're just not getting as many coming on the market. I know I'm putting one on the market this week, but it'll probably fall in the 5 median days. But I don't know. That's where I'm at on my numbers.
And that's what, I'm hoping mine too. I've told them, I said, I think we'll be off the market by Sunday, or we won't. I don't know what to say.
It'll either sell or it won't. Listen to me as I'm a professional. Yeah.
I don't know.
Trust me with all your real estate needs.
Right.
What's going to happen? It'll sell or it won't. It's more complicated than that.
It's all I know.
Yeah. Because we totally wipe our validity out over 3 years of podcasting. Anyways.
I'll let you know next week.
Yeah.
If I'm still there. I don't know what to do. The market's crazy. So in Carmel, 52 hit the market, so that was a really good number for the first time in a few weeks. And 22 pended out of those 52, but a total of 32 pended, which we had a positive inventory of 20 in Carmel.
That's a ton.
That is probably the most I've seen since we've been doing this. I don't know, since 2021. But currently active, 105, so a little low, but more than last week. And in the past 30 days, 110 homes sold, so a little less. But one of the things that's really cool is that in Carmel, the median days on market for the past 7 days is 4. In the past 30 days was 6. So we're just been in 30 days a strong market of selling quickly. Again, if you sold over the first 4 days, or the average for the past 30 days was 116. So that's where we get, I don't know what house we have, but I'm pretty sure my houses are made as best as they possibly can to put the best foot forward, but so the average and median, that's why we always give the average and median, is two totally different numbers. In Westfield, 43 hit the market. Of those, 18 pended, but a total of 41 pended. And so almost wiped out the entire inventory that came to market. But in the past 7 days, the median days on market was 10. In the past 30 days was 19. So I know when I was talking about Westfield about 2-3 weeks ago, we were looking at 35 days on the market. So it's getting a lot better in Westfield. There's 193 houses on the market right now. We know of most of those, half of them are new builds. So a lot hit the market in Westfield. Active, I would say, I don't know, we're up 50 from many times before the past couple weeks. And then sold 114, and in Zionsville, 21 hit the market. 12 of those pended, total of 14 pended. So they had a positive
That's
of
a lot.
7.
That's a lot for Zionsville.
That's the first time in Zionsville as well that had that so much hit the market, and a positive inventory of 7. And their median days on market is 4. In the past 30 days was 5. So they are staying very, very strong as well. 49 are currently active there. 26 sold in the past 30 days. So strong market.
It is. And
a competitive market.
It is. And, we've been going out a lot for we've talked about this before, but and I don't want to drone on about it on this episode. We can discuss it again at another time. When we're back in this competitive market, we have to start thinking about like what matters and what doesn't matter. Is it the price? Is it the commute? What is it? I've just purchased one in Sheridan for somebody because the price mattered, and we have an amazing place that's new construction in Sheridan, right? So they're maybe 10-minute further drive than they wanted to be, but they got the house that they wanted. It was cheaper. It wasn't competitive, all these other things. And you have to start looking at some of these areas like Sheridan, Cicero, Brownsburg, Mooresville, Martinsville, let's see where else, Greenfield, Fortville, Pendleton, a lot of those areas.
Out west of Crawfordsville is the last one I sold.
Okay, that's
ago.
Way out there.
Yeah.
I'll go out there. I got a listing coming up in
it
Louisville.
It was $160,000, and it was a nice house. Yeah, so again, if we're talking about having in the price point that you need to be in, consider looking a little bit outside the scope of, I want to be in, Hamilton County. I want to be here or there.
Oh my gosh, a 250, 300 out there is. Oh my gosh,
you probably have 3 acres, 4
acres.
I
mean, it's awesome.
Yeah,
but people
think about it. Yeah.
You got to think about
outside
that.
the box.
You do. And so people just need to know those things. And I don't want people to get discouraged. I want people to be open-minded. It's a home, so I get it. People want exactly what they want, but you
may not get one if you don't.
Yeah, you just may not get one.
You
just
end
may
up
not. That's
continuing to rent or continuing to live with your parents or whatever you're doing. So yeah, just doing that. But
and people want their dream home, and I get it, but I just never seen anybody live in a dream home that they didn't end up selling like 13 years. It's your dream for now is what it is. It's your dream for now home. So,
but it is getting positive. That's one thing. It's
is.
looking good with inventory, and days on market are coming down for sellers, but that means it's getting a little bit more difficult for buyers. But we've been here for years.
Yep,
but like you said, when is it going to peak and be done? Is this our new norm for the next 5-6 years? Is it gonna, what?
I don't know.
That's why I go. It's kind of the same thing of saying it'll sell or it won't. I mean, we will or we won't. It will. I don't know.
Yeah,
I go with what the situation is in front of me and try and use my expertise on what I know have happened in the past. But tomorrow it could change.
So think about it, like if you bought your dream home, you want to stay in it for 20 years, right? You bought it right before '08, okay? Market just collapsed, okay? You're still 4 years away from that being your 20-year dream home, and the market has not only rebounded, like I mean, I'd have to run the numbers on like how high it has gone up since '08. And so people are like, oh, what if the market collapses? Then it comes back up.
Yeah.
Historically, like
Yeah,
even the Great Depression, it came back up.
Yeah.
Like,
They
we
say
are.
the best investments in real estate, no
Yeah.
matter what, at all times, it stays steady if you look at it over time.
That is correct. That is correct. So, cool. All right, we'll dive a little bit more into the kind of like niches of the pricing next week.
Yeah,
I think.
just kind of see.
Like how many you have
what it's
available, 200 to 250, 250 to 3, et cetera, et cetera.
And
et
maybe
cetera.
where some of those great houses are. So
Mhm.
we can kind of look for those really good houses that are, under the 250 price point where we see some, maybe look up some and push out some of those shout outs on those houses.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. So, anyways, if you need to get a hold of me, my name's Kyle Morris. My number is 317-649-5122 with Morris Property Group and FC Tucker.
And Shelly Walters with the Shelly Walters Realty Group and FC Tucker. My phone number is 317-201-2601. Thanks so much. Please subscribe and like and send us your questions if you want us to cover something. And if you'd like to be on the podcast with us and cover something that we haven't thought about, we'd love to have you. So have a great week.
Have a great week.